Well, Gord, the bottom line is a 2.5% property tax increase. Now, there were some rowdy protesters here at City Hall when the mayor defended this, what he calls a smart and responsible budget.
It's a budget that slams the door on out-of-control spending. That's what the taxpayers want.
But some taxpayers saying this isn't what they want, heckling the mayor just minutes into the budget meeting.
This meeting is now going to be recessed.
A few people were escorted out and the meeting moved to a smaller, more controlled room. But that didn't stop some.
You're creating a huge crisis.
Mayor Ford unfazed, calling next year's budget the first step in rebuilding our fiscal foundation, with taxpayers being hit by some changes, but boasting a savings of over $350 million.
For the first time ever, folks, we will spend less next year than we did this year. That is unheard of.
Earlier in the year, the budget shortfall sat at an estimated $774 million. But after numbers were crunched, that figure was actually a lot lower than that. And the mayor says this year, after a few adjustments, he hopes to balance the books. The proposed budget includes a 2.5% property tax hike, a 10-cent TTC fare increase, and cutting over 2,300 city staff. Some rec programs could get the axe, including nutrition and arts programs, and closing some pools. No libraries will be closed, but hours could be reduced, and there will be a delay in hiring officers, firefighters, and EMS workers.
If you keep shrinking the pie, of course you hit the ceiling. They keep lowering the ceiling. But the things we need to build in the capital program don't change.
The mayor only sees the financial side. He never sees the cost in terms of what it means to people on the street.
But there are some coming to the mayor's defense.
Some councillors might not like this, but the alternative is a much larger tax increase, and I think the residents won't like that.
Cities around the world are having great problems. 12 jurisdictions in the United States have declared bankruptcy. We want to be able to direct our own course in the future and not be a slave to debt.
Are we going to see the less support for Mayor Ford this time around?
There has been a centrist group that has been growing for many months now. Not every single member from the mayor's team is going to necessarily vote with what the mayor would want them to vote on.
And the budget process is far from over. Within the next month, we're going to see a number of public consultations and meetings, including the public being able to have their say. From there, the budget will go to the executive committee and then full council to vote in mid-January. Live at City Hall, I'm Melanie Ng. Gord, back over to you.
All right. Well, Gord, not once in this budget is the word cuts ever used. Rather, it talks about efficiencies and adjustments. But you'd have a tough time selling that terminology out here on the street.
Hey, Ford, what do you say? How many cuts did you make today?
Even before the proposed cuts were announced, protesters gathered outside City Hall.
You stop the cuts now.
And voters were quick to judge once they found out what the new budget could look like. What do you think about a tax increase, a TTC fare hike, cuts to swimming pools, library hours, and 2,300 job losses?
Not good on any of those. No, not good with that.
Neither are some city councillors.
What hurts in here?
The TTC stuff is the worst.
TTC service would be reduced on dozens of routes, so riders will be getting less service but digging deeper into their pockets to get on the rockets. This budget confirms what transit riders have been fearing. The city wants to raise the cost of riding the better way by 10 cents. That will add $30 million to the coffers.
Awful news for all the people who are the middle income group and low income group is bad news, I would say. Especially when, the job market is not so good now.
And it's going to get even tougher for city workers. 2,300 jobs will be eliminated under this plan. When's the last time the city's seen this many job losses?
It's unprecedented in modern times. We think that this will decimate public services in the City of Toronto.
Libraries won't be closed as feared, but many would have reduced hours, like this one at Papin Danforth. The doors would be locked 2 mornings a week and for one evening.
It's definitely a cut. And if that's what he calls the gravy, that's really depressing. Libraries are not gravy, they really aren't. No. So, we're mad. We're very mad.
Mayor Ford campaigned on stopping the gravy train and promised he could balance the books and trim the fat without layoffs. His popularity plummeted during the summer months when the cuts were being debated, down to 37% from the 60% he enjoyed a few months earlier.
Do you think he's found a lot of gravy to cut in this budget?
I don't think so. Maybe some of the cuts are not justified.
But just like City Council, city residents are split on the cuts as well. Ford has some strong supporters.
We have to be reasonable with these budget.
With these budget
figures.
So overall, do you give Mayor Ford a passing grade on this budget?
I will.
Do you think he's cutting gravy in this budget?
He's going to try. I admire him for that. I think he's got a tough job ahead of him.
Mayor Ford says this proposed budget, is an important step in getting the city back on its fiscal feet. But he warns, don't think that this is just a one-time thing. Be ready for more cuts next year. Live from Yonge Dundas Square, Cynthia Mulligan.